There is a moment, and if you have ever had a cardinal visit your yard, you may have felt it without knowing what it was. A moment where the bird lands, looks directly at you through the glass, stays longer than usual, and then disappears. And minutes later, the sky breaks open. Most people chalk it up to coincidence. But what if it wasn't? What if that cardinal knew something you didn't? What if the reason it came to your feeder that morning, before the storm, before the first drop of rain, was not random at all, but the result of a biological system so precise, so quietly elegant, that it has been operating in your backyard for thousands of years without you ever noticing? Today we are going to talk about cardinals, not in the way a textbook would talk about them. We are going to talk about what they actually know, what they feel inside their bodies before the weather changes, why they come to you first. And by the end of this video, you are going to look at your backyard, or your window, or your feeder, in a way you have never looked at it before. Stay with me, because the most interesting part of this is not the science. It is what the science reveals about the relationship between you and that bird. Let us start with something that almost nobody talks about. Cardinals do not just survive winter. They stay, while dozens of other songbird species pack up and leave when temperatures drop, when storms approach, when the season turns hard. The cardinal remains. And that choice, that commitment to stay, is not stubbornness. It is strategy. It requires an extraordinary ability to read the environment, to feel what is coming before it arrives. And over thousands of generations, the cardinal has developed a sensing system so refined that researchers are only now beginning to fully understand it. Here is where it gets interesting. Inside the body of a cardinal, tucked within a system of air sacs that extend from the lungs, there is an organ called the paratympanic organ. It is a small cluster of sensory cells located near the inner ear, and its job is to detect changes in atmospheric pressure with an accuracy that makes our best weather instruments look clumsy. When a low-pressure system, the kind that brings heavy rain and storms, begins moving toward an area, the air pressure starts to drop. Not dramatically at first, subtly, imperceptibly to you or me, but not to a cardinal. That bird standing on your feeder post, it felt the pressure shift before your weather app updated, and the moment it feels that shift, something switches on inside it. A behavioral cascade begins, and this is where things get personal, because what that cascade looks like to you, watching from your window, is exactly what we are about to unpack. But first, and I want you to do this right now, think about the last time a bird visited your yard more intensely than usual, more frequently, more urgently, more boldly. Was there rain later that day? I would love to know. Drop it in the comments. Seriously, tell me what happened. Because what people describe in the comments of videos like this one consistently surprises me, and I think it is going to surprise you too. Now, back to the cardinal and what it does when the pressure drops. The first thing that happens is feeding behavior intensifies. This is not random hunger. This is strategic. The cardinal's nervous system, responding to that pressure cue, essentially signals the bird to prepare, to fuel up. Think of it like a traveler who knows a long delay is coming at the airport. You eat before you go because you do not know when you will eat again. The cardinal is doing the same thing. It comes to the feeder not because it is especially hungry at that moment, but because it knows it will be unable to feed safely for hours. The storm is coming. It needs reserves, and this is why, if you pay close attention, you will notice that the cardinal visits your feeder before rain with a different quality of presence. It eats faster. It may make more trips. It may tolerate the proximity of other birds it would otherwise chase away. The urgency changes everything about its behavior. And if you have a feeder, this is important practical information. Because right there, in that urgency, is one of the most reliable natural forecasts you will ever witness. Here is something most people never hear about. Cardinals also sing differently before rain. Now, the male cardinal is one of the most vocal birds in North America. Both males and females actually sing, which is unusual for songbirds. And their song is that rich, clear, almost electronic whistle that cuts through morning air like something that knows it has been heard for 1,000 years. But before a storm, something changes. Some observers describe it as more frequent. Others describe it as louder, more insistent. Ornithologists have documented what is sometimes called storm singing, a pattern of increased vocal activity in birds that appears to correlate with dropping barometric pressure. The leading theory is communication. The male is signaling to his mate. To other cardinals in the territory, something is coming. Adjust, prepare, find cover, get food now. And here is the strange, quiet thing about that. That song, the one you hear through your window on a grey morning, just before the sky turns heavy, that is not just bird song. That is a broadcast, a warning system, and you have been within range of it your entire life. Now I want to take a moment here, because we are about halfway through this, and I want to make sure we get to something that I think is genuinely the most overlooked piece of this whole story. And it has to do not with what the cardinal does before rain, but with where it chooses to go. Stay with me. We know the cardinal feeds urgently before a storm. We know it sings differently. But there is a third behavior that is far more subtle and far more meaningful, and it is this. Before heavy rain, cardinals seek out familiar, trusted locations. They do not explore. They do not take risks. They return to the places they know. If your yard has a feeder that a cardinal has visited multiple times, that feeder becomes encoded in its mental map as a reliable resource, a safe place. And before a storm, when the instinct is to consolidate, to be efficient, to not waste energy on uncertainty, the cardinal goes back to what it knows. That means when a cardinal visits your feeder before rain, it is not just foraging. It is trusting you, or rather, it is trusting the place you have made. That is not a small thing. Think about what it takes for a wild animal to develop trust in a specific location. It requires repeated positive experiences, consistency, safety, the absence of threat. If a cardinal returns to your yard before a storm, it is telling you, in the only language it has, that your yard has passed every test. It is a refuge, and the bird chose it, specifically, in the moments before the sky fell. I find this remarkable, and I think you might too. Now let us get practical, because I promised you useful information, and I want to deliver it in a way that actually changes what you do tomorrow morning. If you want to attract cardinals before rain, and if you want to observe this behavior for yourself, there are a few things that matter more than anything else. The first is feeder placement. Cardinals prefer to feed low. Unlike many birds that are comfortable on tall, hanging feeders, cardinals feel most secure on platform feeders or hopper-style feeders that sit at mid-height, roughly 3 to 5 feet off the ground. Before a storm, when comfort and familiarity matter most, a feeder that matches their natural preference will be chosen over one that doesn't. If you have been struggling to attract cardinals and your feeder is very high up or very exposed, this is likely the reason. The second is food. Cardinals prefer safflower seeds and sunflower seeds, black oil sunflower in particular. These are dense, high-calorie foods. Before rain, When a cardinal needs to fuel up fast, it will prioritize exactly these foods. If your feeder has millet or mixed seed, blends without sunflower, you may be feeding other birds perfectly well, but missing the cardinal entirely on its pre-storm run. Offering sunflower seeds specifically can completely change which birds show up and when. The third is cover. Cardinals will not go far from cover, even in ideal conditions. Before a storm, this becomes non-negotiable. They need to be able to fly immediately to a dense shrub, a low tree, or an evergreen. If your feeder is in the middle of an open lawn with no cover within 15 or 20 feet, the cardinal will feel too exposed to commit to feeding there before dangerous weather. Placing a feeder near a hedge, a holly bush, or the edge of a tree line is one of the most effective changes you can make. And now here is the behavioral experiment I want to invite you to try. For the next 2 weeks, whenever rain is forecast, go to your window or your yard about 2 to 3 hours before the storm is supposed to arrive, ideally in the late morning or mid-afternoon. Watch your feeder. Watch the edge of whatever trees or shrubs are nearby, and pay attention to whether the cardinal comes, how long it stays, and how urgently it feeds. What you are going to find, and I say this not as speculation, but as something that careful observers have documented over and over, is that the bird's behavior will begin to feel legible to you in a way it never did before. You will start to see the pattern. You will start to feel what the bird is feeling. And the backyard that you have walked past 1,000 times without thinking much about it will start to feel like something that is quietly alive and communicating. That shift from seeing a bird to reading a bird is one of the most rewarding things that can happen to someone who spends time outdoors or near a window. And it does not require any special equipment. It requires attention. And now you have a framework to direct that attention. Let me leave you with one last thing. There is a moment that comes sometimes in early spring, when a storm is building on the horizon, and the light has turned that particular shade of gray-green that means something serious is coming. In that moment, if you are standing near a window and a male cardinal lands on your feeder, that deep, almost impossible red against the flat gray sky, something happens in you that is hard to name. It is not just beauty, it is recognition. Some old pre-rational part of your brain looks at that bird and knows what it is doing there, knows that it is not there by accident, knows that the arrival of that bird and the arrival of the storm are connected. And for just a moment, you are not looking at a bird. You are looking at a system, an intelligence, a relationship between a living creature and its world that is so much older and deeper than anything we have built. That feeling is worth chasing. And the fact that you can chase it, not in a forest, not on an expedition, but in your own yard, your own window, your own ordinary morning, is genuinely one of the most underappreciated gifts of paying attention to birds. If this video gave you something today, a new way of seeing, a fact you did not know, a reason to look out your window next time it rains, please hit that like button. Not because it helps the algorithm, though it does, but because it tells me that this kind of content is worth making more of. And if you want to see what else happens in your yard before weather changes, subscribe. We cover the quiet science of backyard birds in a way that tries to do exactly what I hope this video did today, make the ordinary feel extraordinary. And leave a comment. Tell me about a time a cardinal showed up before a storm. Tell me what your yard looks like. Tell me what bird keeps coming to your window and why you think it's there. I read these, and sometimes the answers you give me become the next video. The storm is coming, and the cardinal already knows.